The Daily Coffee Q&A live stream is brought to you by the letters CQA. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Q&A. I'm Jay, your host. What's happening? How's it going? It is Friday. What is it? Friday, September 5th. September already. Can you believe it? And if you're just joining us for the very first time, this is the Coffee Q&A, where we do mostly daily live streams about coffee in some form or another, with a lot of useless banter in between. So how's it going? Today we'll be talking about the OXO Rapid Brew, which is our rapid brewer that we've been using for actually the last 9 episodes. This is the 9th episode that we've done talking about this brewer, OXO Rapid Brew. $40 at your local Target or online at Amazon. The link down below. If you buy something on Amazon, it helps to support the channel because I'll get maybe 15 cents. And, for about 15 cents over 2 million people is a lot. It is pretty good. I'd be okay with that. But, if we can get to 2 million people. But anyway, so we've got the OXO Rapid Brew. I've also got some Conchas. But I've got some pan dulces. So I got pan dulces. And we're going to get into that in a little while. So how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Naomi, good morning to you. How's everything? So today we're going to be talking about this brew recipe called the LPLF, low pressure, low flow, or is it LF? Yeah, LPLF. And this is a recipe that I got from the guys at Intelligentsia Coffee. They have a video out on this where they talk about making these 3 different methods of brewing with the OXO Rapid Brew. We're compiling all the brew methods to see if there's one that's the best. I don't know. I haven't really found one that I'm when you judge this. So when I started judging for the KCBS, the Kansas City Barbecue Society, they're a U.S.-based national organization for competitive barbecue. And so I got certified as one of their judges, and I started doing that for a while. And it's interesting because, how that works is that all the competitors come together and they have a set time. Like, let's say you have brisket. Your brisket's supposed to be delivered, let's say at 10 a.m. And all of the competitors are rushing to do that. So they have we give them the same styrofoam trays, and they're supposed to put 6 strips of brisket in the tray, and they're supposed to arrange it in whatever way that's pleasing to the eye. Maybe some garnish, not too much. There's some rules on it. And they bring it to the table. And so they bring it to the table, and then as a judge, you're served the tray and you take a taste of it. And you get all these, and so you only get as an individual judge, you only get maybe one. You get one round. So basically 6 competitors or 4 competitors, depending on how big the competition is, and you taste each of their briskets, and then you determine what you grade it and give a score and choose the and then eventually the winner is chosen. But what they do is they take those trays and they put them on a table somewhere. And one of the interesting things is you sit there, you can go there. And I remember early on when I was learning how to judge was I would go to those tables and you would taste, and all the competitors were there. And I just I had to educate myself. So I tasted every one. They were all good, right? If you were served any of these briskets, you'd be pretty happy with it, right? But as you're tasting them all, you realize that one rises to the top. One is you're just that's the brisket. That's the one. And of course, because it was so good and the judges are all the same, that was the plate that had the least amount of brisket remaining. But I mean, it was you're tasting. They're all good. They're good. And then there's just one. Bam! You're like, oh my gosh, that is great. So that's kind of what I'm looking for with these recipes. It's as we're tasting them, we're using the same coffee, the Misty Valley from Yirgacheffe in Ethiopia, produced by a friend of mine, Abdullah Bagesh. Grade 1, so super nice quality coffee, and roasted by another friend of mine, Matt, at Park and Perk. So really nice quality coffee. And we're trying, and I'm just thinking there's going to be a brew method that's usually, that if there's something really worthy, it's just going to make itself apparent. Just as Darth Maul said in the first Star Wars, which is really the fourth Star Wars. In time, we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi, right? And that's how I feel about, most of these things, that as you explore, the best will reveal itself. The more you taste, the more you realize, oh, that's really great, right? Kent, good morning or good afternoon to you. Naomi says, looks similar to melon pan in Japan. Yes, there's very big similarities. We'll talk more about that, but yes, very much, very much. Mom, how are you? Good morning. And then Russell's with us too. Good morning to you, Russell. So this low pressure, low flow is using 20 grams of coffee, 80 milliliters of water. Now, I don't know how they came up with this recipe, but this is the same exact proportions. I think it's 1:17 ratio. I only know this because I read the literature that came with the OXO Rapid Brewer. This is the same kind of ratio that the OXO puts in the box, right, in the instruction manual. Maybe this is something that's shared by a lot of people. I don't know. I mean, I use a 14.5 ratio coffee, so what's the whine about these things? Anyway, if you're just joining us for the very first time and you don't know anything about the OXO Rapid Brewer, this is it. $40. Unless you're in Norway, and then it's going to cost you 150 euros. But we've got, the carafe. It's a 3-section thing. It's supposed to be like the AeroPress killer. Everybody wants to kill this. I don't know why. Doesn't make any sense. It's just similar, right? I guess the people talk about the AeroPress because, the AeroPress, we press down here, and here we will pump with it. So, and it's similar in dimensions, and I think it's a silly comparison. And the smell of these pan dulces is really getting to me at the moment. It's a distraction. So there's 3 parts to this. There's the upper chamber that has the pump. It pumps out a maximum of 1 bar of atmospheric pressure. So nowhere near the pressure you need to make espresso. Then there's the water chamber, which is in the center here. All of these screw together. And the nice thing about this is you're like wondering, there are gaskets, but there are like reference marks. Right, there's a reference mark right there. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And then you just kind of line it up, and there it is. You know that you're at least aligned in some way. So we take this apart, and in the middle chamber where you place the water, there is perforation, so it disperses the water over your coffee bed, and your coffee bed is put in here. This is the lower chamber. It comes with a tamper. Superfluous tamper, because you're pretty much grinding coffee so coarse. There's no real compaction. Like we've been tamping with this thing, and you could shake it and it would fall apart. So it's not like you're using espresso in a true basket. And by the way, are we in sync, or I think we're not in sync, are we? I thought we started off in sync, and now I think we're off. I don't know. You let me know what you think. Let me know. Kent says not exactly 150 years, but close enough, I guess. Still waiting for mine to arrive. ETA on Monday. I think I'm slowly going to increase the amount, just because I'm impressed that you'd spend any amount of money over $40 to get this. And I think you should be, people should be like, whoa, that guy's awesome. He spent 400 euros on this brewer. That's amazing. And Naomi says, I hope you make enough coffee today for the baked goodies. That is on the mind, because this recipe is not just low pressure, low flow. It's also low yield. You're like, what is that? Like I was watching the video and I was like, what is this guy talking about? 60 gram yield, like 60 grams. What am I going to do? It's 60 grams of coffee. Then you can put the bypass. Oh, bypass again. Always with the bypass with these folks. I don't know what the deal is. Okay, so this is the lower chamber, and it's got perforations here, stainless steel perforation. I should zoom in more. When I look at that, I feel so far away. So we got perforations. You can't really see them. Maybe if I get the light. Oh yeah, there we go. Now you can see them. All right, that's good. That's cool. I still haven't changed the color temperature on this because, yeah. Just like who was that asking me yesterday? Like, oh, I'm surprised you haven't fixed your. I'm surprised you haven't adjusted the grinder. Yeah, because I'm just. I leave. I leave. Once we're done here, I turn off the lights and I walk away. And I'm like, I gotta go. Like yesterday, what did I do yesterday? I ended up going. I had so much to do now. I can't remember at all. This is how life is. It's just like with my niece and my nephews, right? You know, the kids are you kids are you? They go to school. They're learning something. It's a whole new world of adventure for them. But then you talk to them after school. You pick them up after school. You're like, how was school? Good. So what'd you learn today? Nothing. It's like, what? Your parents are paying untold amount of money to send you at school, and you got nothing out of it. Well, might as well go to public school. Public school for you. Anyway, let's make coffee. Let's make coffee. We're gonna make coffee. I'm gonna turn the water on. Make sure that our flame is running. Sometimes the butane burner doesn't quite like if you can imagine there's a circle here and then there's these like four sets of two little jets that are kind of in a cross section on the very top of the burner, and then there's the part that the ring that goes around. Sometimes only those four jets light, and I have to double check because I did that one time and I'm babbling away and I'm like, why is this thing not getting hot? Because there's only four little tiny like flames that are trying to heat this kettle that's pretty huge, and it didn't ignite the ring, and so I had to make sure the ring ignites. Every time I do it, that's why I'm always picking up the kettle. If you see me, like you might notice, I pick up the kettle because it'll ignite part of the ring, and then if I pick it up for some reason, then it goes all the way around. So, okay, like I said, we're going to use 20 grams of coffee. So here's our scale. Ode. I always forget the name of this, and then all I can remember is the studio edition, the SE part, because of the glossy piano kind of finish. But the Ode, no, it's not the Ode. It's the fellow, whatever, Prismo, or I don't know. I can't even remember these things. 20 grams of coffee. 20.2. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. And then our grind setting, he didn't really talk about grind setting, but I'm presuming he didn't change the grind setting from the previous one. So we're going to go back to here it is tight again. This is just tight. Look at that. Okay, I'm going to let you hear it. I can't be good. Is this? So it makes me wonder, burrs are like this, right? I mean, they're in this orientation, but one spins and one moves, right, to get you the relationship between the distance. I don't know. It was at its maximum setting, meaning that it was at maximum course that I could get it to go. So it's supposed to be pulling it farther away. But for some reason, I basically, this is for a coffee that I made for last night's live stream. I resumed the coffee and cigars live stream on the Ono Live channel, Thursday night, 8 p.m. in case you're interested. But I ground it last night around 7 o'clock, 7:30, 7:45, or whatever it was. And full coarseness, as far as open as I can get this grinder to go. And it was binding just now. Right now, it binds right here. I don't know why it's that would presume that it's moving closer together after we're done, and I don't really get that. Okay, so let's see if it blows up. Jesus. There are we're gonna have to take this apart. How one coffee grinder can have so many issues. Well, I guess it's not too many issues. Like the first one we bought a year ago, and then within 3 weeks it dies live, and then replace that. And we've been using this actually all year long for a year now. And then we had that clumping, we had that jam clog issue, like, I don't know, must have been like in the springtime. And then now this one. Very strange. All right, so we're going to go to 3. This is, I think that's a setting we used yesterday. 3 here. So it's between pour over and maybe closer to AeroPress, but not espresso, right? All right, let's grind. Let's grind. Oh, Tally Pro, that's good. Thank you, Tally Pro. Can I use a different grinder today? I cannot. Only because the other grinder, the one that I used to use, the Barazza Virtuoso, is a bit of a walk into the kitchen, and then all of the hand grinders right now are in the garage because I'm actually working on a hand grinder. I'm going to make a hand grinder box, a box for the hand grinder. I got a little like grinding thing, like the old school like looking antique grinder that has the wheel. I got one of those devices, the actual like mechanicals, and it's meant to be a kit, so you can make your own coffee grinder box. Make a box for it. I'm designing a box for it. Right now, I'm thinking of I've got a plug made of walnut. I don't know if I want to stay there. I don't know what I'm going to do. Still trying to figure that out. Future video for the channel, though. All right, so we've got our coffee grounds. Very excited. Ooh, still nice aromas from the natural coffee. Anton says, man, it sounds like you're fighting some kind. It does sound like a beast in there. Maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll send a message to fellow people and be like, hey, this is go to this video at this timestamp and let me know what I should do. I should do that today. I'll try. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do it 2 weeks from now when I finally think about it. Not that it matters, says Naomi, but I use 3 and 1 click on mine, but I also use 2 Chemex thick filters. But who was it yesterday? Great. I'm not trying to gloss over that. That's good. But like I said before, one of the things that I'm always hesitant about giving like numbers on machines is because it's going to be different, right? Who was it yesterday that said, or maybe I think it was yesterday, that was like, within this week, somebody was talking about how this needs to be adjusted, right? So this has to be adjusted. So you have to remove the screws. I can't see it there. It's better here. You have to remove the screws, remove this whole plate. Or no, not the plate, but there's this dial is actually inset on this plate here. You remove the 4 screws, and then you can manipulate the burst set. If I remember correctly, it's been several months, but depending on how you so this range of adjustment is not the totality of range that's available on the burst set. Meaning that, let's say if you go all the way fully locked here, you're touching the burrs together, and you come all the way here, then you're at the maximum threading, right? That's not the case. I think you have to set it somewhere in between those 2 maximums, right? Like, for example, on something like this one, the Mazda Major Auto, if I crank this all the way down, I will impact the burrs together. And actually, when you're really calibrating your machine, you actually bring the burrs all the way till they touch. The machine is off, right? You turn it off and you bring it all the way till you can't turn anymore. You hit the switch, turn it on, and start to grind. And all you hear is the motor seizing. Like, and then you just do it for a second, just to make sure you're holding it. And that means that you've got the burrs completely impacted together. And then you back it off until it starts to spin, and then you start your dialing in from there, from a very, very fine setting, and you come up coarser slowly. This one, I don't know, and I wasn't sure. I didn't really know how to really set that up correctly when I was putting it back together. So and someone mentioned that you have to calibrate it. It probably needs calibration. So maybe we'll call them up and be like, hey man, how does this work? All right, we've got It was you, Anton, that said that. He says it's going to be different, but it's a nice starting point. Yeah, and you have to start somewhere. And it is with anything, like, because that, like I said, I'm always hesitant to give numbers because I'd rather give like ranges, right? Like descriptions rather than numbers, because my point is that the numbers may not mean anything. Like, for example, there are numbers on the collar of this Maser Major Auto. I have multiples of these, especially at the shop. We had 2 or 3 running at the same time. And we would teach new baristas that these numbers, while they're a good reference point, they're not absolute, meaning that the 2 on this right here on this dial will not match the 2 on the grinder next to it, even though they're identical grinders, because the threading is so fine that you could be anywhere on the thread stack, and one revolution of difference is huge on these grinders, huge. Well, maybe not that huge, but big enough that you couldn't match. So you really have to not use those numbers as absolutes, and they're just referential numbers for that particular grinder, and really at that particular moment. Like if you were a barista, you came to Spro and you were using this grinder one day, and then you went on hiatus, you went on vacation, or you just left the company and you came back 6 months, a year later, you wouldn't be able to you wouldn't be able to set this back to that number and get the same result, because the burrs would have the burr grinders would have the burrs would have worn. Right? So yeah, that's something, just something to consider as you're thinking about and what people are telling you, like that. They're really referential. They're not necessarily absolutes. That's the point in a very verbose manner. All right, let us go here to Coffee Cove says, I sat my phone down on my bed and my cat. Oh, nice. Well, hello, kitty. Hello, kitty. Anton says, at this time, 1 year down the line, I can see me sending a video to fellow titled, Is This Normal? And it's just an old grinder at 3 a.m. in the kitchen, feasting on an Is this, my house is being eaten. Is this normal? Good morning to you, Coffee Cove. Now he says, other than my niche zero, my grinders are never the same after I open it up to clean it. I see. The niche zero, I wonder what the difference with the niche zero is. All right, let's see here. Let's put this coffee in. Can we put it in without spilling? I'm getting better at that. A year ago, I was really irritated by these wings that are in here. Now that I'm used to them, I'm not so irritated. You just got to work around them. I just kind of work around them. You just got to remember to rotate, because coffee's always getting stuck behind the wing. So you have to rotate your way around it to free them. They need freedom. They need to be free and to move. Now, here's the thing. So, like, people, I don't know if people, the guy in the Intelligentsia video did this in one of them, and I was like, what are you doing, dude? Why are you doing that? That's just ridiculous. I hope that people are not doing this. And if you're one of these people, please don't do this. Like, there's no value in doing this, right? Like, and what I mean specifically is when you're using the rake, the WDT, right? It's called the WTT, right? If you're using that rake to rake your coffee for this, don't do that. There's no need for that, please. For the love of God. Nothing triggers me more than just superfluous kind of like coffee doohickey manipulation, because this coffee is so coarsely ground comparatively to espresso that it's not binding to each other, right? Even the idea that we're going to tamp this just rankles my goat, to no end. No offense to the cat, but look at that. This is so coarse. Like, it's coarse. There's no compaction. Like, I can press down on this and nothing's happening. It's just moving. What do you call that? Fluid dynamics is in play. Look at that. It's that. So So for the love of God, please don't rake your coffee. Don't rake this. Don't rake this. And this, I don't know what this is for. Like, this is just silliness at its maximum potential. So let's tamp it, because he says to tamp it. He wants to tamp it. So you're tamping this. Okay, so here, let's do it. If I tamp an espresso to the proper, that's probably even more than tons, to the proper compaction, then it will stick if I turn it over, right? Oh. Well, there it is. Okay, tamp your coffee. Very good. Okay, we tamped our coffee. Never mind. Never mind. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Always take what I tell you with a lot of salt. Never. I offer no absolutes. And here's what I forgot. Okay, we're gonna take this out now because I forgot to put the paper filter. We're supposed to put AeroPress filter in here, but okay. So, see now. Well, I did bang it on the ground, so that loosened. It broke the tension, so that's why I'm not like a coffee genius or anything like that. Okay, let me just make sure this is nice and clean because we don't want any grounds on the bottom. Now, so he takes the paper filter, AeroPress filter, puts it in. And for some reason that I'm still trying to understand, he takes a spritzer of water and spritzes the paper in here. Now, okay, I get it, right? I get it. If I'm working with my AeroPress, right, I do wet the paper, right? I do like to wet the paper because if I take an AeroPress filter and I put it in my AeroPress filter holder, oops, there's a good chance this is supposed to fall out because they'd always fall out, right? So when I'm trying to get the fall out, it doesn't. You know, it's just like basically the universe is conspiring to show you that I'm just a charlatan. Never mind. But when I put it in here, I like to wet it so that, like for example, because I'm usually doing in the inverted paper, right? Inverted brewing method. And so I will put this in here, wet it. There, see, that came out. I would wet it so that it'll stick and it won't fall out. And that's the only reason that I wet it is just so that it sticks so that when it comes time, because, you know, especially if you're in a bar setting and you're making, you know, untold amount of coffee either at one time or in a row, you don't want, if I don't wet this and it falls out, then I got to pick it up. And that just adds a few more seconds to my routine. And I slowly fall deeper into the weeds. So that's just that. And so now we put our paper filter in here, and now we need to add our coffee. Let's do this again. Oh, we have to add a little spritz of water. Again, why are we doing this? I don't know. What do you guys think? Why do you do this? Why is this being done? Old dog is learning new tricks today. Anton says that my Lagom 01 stays the same after cleaning. Oh, nice. That's why modern people communicate burr grab in microns. Yes, but the burr grab in microns thing, okay, I get that, right? But what does that mean? Like, it means, honestly, to me, for I think for lay people, it means nothing because how are you going to measure the microns? Like, it's just like TDS. I never talk TDS because you know what? What kind of psycho is going to go out to a coffee place with their TDS meter and start measuring the TDS to determine whether or not they like the coffee? Like, to me, that's just insanity. Like, that's just, and like when the TDS meters first came out, right? When the VST first came out, and a lot of us were talking about, like, what would you do if somebody came in? And I would kick them the hell out of my shop. I'd be like, you need to leave right now. You take that TDS meter, leave. Coffee's on me. Get out. Because you know what? It's like, I never worry about TDS because, you know, if you have the right ratio, you're pretty much going to have a good TDS, right? Unless you've got like really mucked up grinding, right? But the thing is, like, what TDS do you really need other than your tongue? Your taste, right? That, to me, that's all that matters, right? Like, I give F all about whether it says 15, 17, 21 on the meter. What I care about is whether or not that guest who walks in is going to be like, no, this was a hell of good coffee, and I'm glad that I was here today. That's all that matters. To me, that's all that matters. Like, do you enjoy the food? And so that's why I think that when people are tasting coffee, it's really about the taste. Like if you taste the coffee and it's really mucked up and you're like, well, I don't understand what's wrong with it. I don't understand why I don't like it. Then maybe that's when you break out the meters and start to analyze it. But other than that, I never worry about those things. It's like, and I've learned that I never really have to worry about it, because if I'm buying nice quality coffee, whether it's green or roasted, most of the battle is done because I can control everything else. Right? I can't control how it's grown. I can't control how it's shipped. I can't control how it's handled. I can't control how it's roasted unless I'm doing the roasting. But I can control everything else, and so I can manipulate it if necessary. But really, I find that nice quality coffee roasted well doesn't really need much manipulation. So I never worry about those things. So that's my micron. That's my triggering for microns. But you know what? If you like the micron thing, like, hey, I'm not yucking your yum, man. I'm not yucking your yum. I want you to enjoy it. Like if that's like and I get it. If you're the kind of person that's like, I'm going to brew this coffee and I'm going to brew it really light, and I got to make sure that I got the right TDS reading, and that's part of your journey of enjoyment for the coffee for the day. Right on that. Right on. But I worry about talking about things like that in like this kind of setting, like in YouTube, as someone that's making videos about coffee, is because, I don't want people to think that that's the way they have to do it, right? Because I think a lot of times in YouTube land, when you have like the experts talking about something, the people that are watching tend to feel like, oh, I must be doing it wrong. No, dude, if it tastes good to you, you're doing it fine. There's nothing wrong. Somebody else will tell you you're doing it wrong, but I tend not to be that person. And I've been wildly that person in many other forms throughout my career. Okay, so let's put this down. Now that we've got the paper filter in here that's wet, and now it's moving. See, look, here's and I don't know, I just noticed. So when it's dry, it just kind of like wedges in there because the paper is a little bit larger than the space. But now that it's wet and I was like tapping on it, it actually moves. So it will slide now. This water actually adds like a lubrication to it. So that could be detrimental. One of the things that I think was working in its favor is that because it's wider, it kind of like pushes up against the side so that the water doesn't go around it, or we'll have a harder time going around it. But who knows if that's any true. But let's put the coffee in. Let's distribute that. I'm glad my rake is in the garage, because I would be tempted to rake it right now just because. Okay, we're going to tamp down. Now I'm getting static clean. Okay, so we've got our thing. We're going to connect it. Oh, no. I need one more paper filter on top. Oh, let me use this one that I've been manhandling. Well, another paper filter. Then we're going to connect. Great. And that's going to go here under its carafe. So we're all ready to go. And then we're going to, let me just make sure that the water is boiling again. Okay, we've got that ready here. Oh, the Anton says that the Lagom is not terribly cheap in price relations. He also says that I think the smartest purchase in terms of high-end grinders right now will be the Zerno Z2. The Zerno is nice. I've seen it over the last 2 years at the show, and the owner is really nice. And but it looks pretty cool. Like that's a cool. That if I had like $2,000 to spend, I'd buy that on a grinder like that. I just wanted to buy. But the only problem with that one is like not to say that this is small. Like this is not small. This is I mean it's smaller than something like this. It's not necessarily as compact as my. Well, then again, I've got a base on my Baratza Virtuoso. So the Virtuoso is probably only about this big. If you don't have the extra base that I have for it, so it's slightly more compact but taller. The Zerno is probably a little bit longer. Right, and I'm not really in a setting here at home where I've got this modern, elegant, like open air design where I want to have this like sleek looking grinder just kind of out there in the open. I thought that would be kind of nice. If I had a mid-century modern home, then maybe it'll be nice. Kent says my O2 never returned to its old self after first cleaning, but it's not. Yeah. I don't know. It's got to be something like that. Maybe I'll work on it sometime over the weekend and maybe do a live stream over doing it. Anton says, with that screaming, I would be afraid that the birds could be scratched up. I mean, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like it's probably getting all mucked to hell. You got to bop it. Maybe I should just be hitting it. Naomi says, I use the AeroPress funnel to transfer the coffee, which is a great idea. Unfortunately, people can no longer do that. Why? Because AeroPress got cheap when they got to the VCs, and now they're like no longer packaging a funnel with their AeroPress, which is like that's like the key component to the AeroPress is that funnel. And one of the nice things that I saw people, I learned this later in my career, that people would take the funnel, right? You know, the funnel is shaped like this shape here. And let's say you got a big cup. You got a big cup. This funnel, this will fit in the funnel. I've seen people put the funnel in a cup, right, because it's wider, and then they put this in the funnel, and then they press it. I was like, that's brilliant because it's too big. The cup, you wouldn't, because of the reference point, the cup is too big, and you wouldn't, or whatever vessel, and you wouldn't get these wouldn't register well. And I was like, oh, that's all right, hipster barista. That's pretty brilliant. Okay, now we got our water. Oh, I'm putting too much water in there. We're only going to pour 80 milliliters of water, so let's tear that out. Now, we're not going to worry so much about the time because, well, we don't have to worry about the time in this. We just need to add 80 mils. The habit for me is to do this, right? This rotation thing. You don't have to because there's a dispersion screen. I mean, maybe it's better because you're not putting pressure and flow pressure in one spot, but I can't help it. It's going by itself. 81.4 grams. Okay, we are going to be way over under extracted now. Too dilute. Oh yeah, and then we need to put our piece back together. Did it say to wait? I don't think it did. And then now we're going to give it 4 gentle strokes, or up to 4. I mean, I don't think it's going to take that much. Like one pump now. Basically, one pump has pushed 99% of the. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That was pretty much 99% of it. So I don't know where these cats are getting so many pumps out of it. Maybe they're going finer with the grind. I don't know. All right. So relatively clean. Put that aside. And how do we clean that? So you basically will just unscrew it, right? And there's our puck. And all you got to do is just kind of, and it flips out. And there's a little bit of mess, right? They always got to clean a little bit of residual whatever, but you should clean it because, and like, I find that the screen here does not normally have coffee residue, but I like to clean it off because, there's probably residue you can't see. So might as well clean and have, no rancidity in your coffee. Anton says that he uses telekinesis to transfer the. I like that. That's funny. That's funny. Oh, it wets it. Okay, basically you wanted the filter down, but why? Why? Like, I get it when it has to be inverted, like it could fall out, but why? If this is a stationary, why are we doing that? And I worry that, like, I worry. I'm not really worried, but because it's moving now, it can move. It's lubricated. Will that give inconsistency to resistance to the cough, to the flow? So will you get inconsistencies in the brew? Peter just eyeballs it. Nice. That's the best way. That's the best way. Anton says you don't need to measure the microns because manufacturers have fixed micron values per step on the dial. You only need to know where your chirp is, or your zero, or zero your grinder at chirp. Yes, but here's the thing. Well, here's my question: is that as the burrs wear, is the micron changes the same? I mean, that's what comes to my mind. Coffee Cove says sometimes I use a brewer to measure, like a crude brewer. I don't know what that is. It's hard to get exact with those, but still can get in the ballpark. I like to go by microns as grinder settings can be different amongst us. But how? So if you're talking microns, and I get that. Let's say use 600 right? You set whatever that may be, and you tell that to someone. How does somebody measure that? Like, how does someone set it to that? And let's say you decide you determine that this particular coffee will be perfect at whatever micron setting. Like, how does someone replicate that? And without, like, what kind of equipment are they using? And I get what you're saying, that they're theoretical, like, oh, it's supposed to be so many microns each click, which is cool. But as the burrs wear, I find that difficult to believe that it would still be the same each micron, each difference. And then as it wears, it's going to change the grind itself. Oh, I don't know. I don't have answers. I'm just curious. These are my curiosities in coffee. Anton says the brewer is too messy for me. The brewer is totally messy. Totally too messy. Coffee says Coffee Cove says, yes, it's messy, and don't use it all the time. Can put on a little paper towel. Yeah, paper towel works. Every time I use it, paper towel. You've seen the old Zerno. I've seen the new Zerno. I think if they had it at the last show, that I've seen that one. But it's all. They're all kind of the same to me. It's all like nice toys. And I'm like, okay, cool. Is it better than my Virtuoso? Is it better than the Virtuoso? It has a servo motor, nice. So it's like the Weber EG1, but without the stalling issues. Really, the Weber EG has stalling issues? My friend has one. We used it quite a bit. I've not seen it. We've never had it stall, but I've only used it a few times, not tremendously. Nobody asks, is the Zerno easy to take apart and clean around and realign? I don't know about the realignment, but the guy was showing me how it came apart, and it's fairly easy from what I remember. I think I've got it in, I think it's in I did a video 2 years ago about it. Easier than the 078s. And I'm falling way behind. Naomi says, I'd rather pay a professional to clean for me at this point. I'm scared. I don't know if there's a professional in our state that's worthy of that. There's one guy who works for Ceremony Coffee in Annapolis. He's a tech who's very good. It's expensive, but totally worth it if you have tech, if you need a tech. But he's really geared towards professional environments. But techs in Maryland and Baltimore, Jesus. Like, I have very strong feelings about that because they're so bad. They're just terrible here. Oh, and you need a calibrated Torx wrench. Oh, my. Nobody says, I don't even know what this is. It's the one that has like star patterns instead of like a cross or a spade. Because how you tighten the screws affect alignment. Oh, gosh. That's all you need, more technical things. All right, let's taste the coffee. It smells thick and heavy. And I don't know, did I show it to you? It is kind of thick. I know everybody likes to like use these things to make espresso, and there's a very espresso-ish character to this, but it's missing. Like, it's got the intensity and thickness of like an espresso, but it just doesn't have the pleasure of an espresso. Like, there's that crema aspect of it that's missing. There's a silkiness that's missing. Like, this is just strong coffee. Thick, strong, small quantity coffee. Good enough, right? Good enough. But it's not espresso. And not, I know that you guys aren't necessarily thinking that it is, but I know some people like to believe that it will be. Okay, so now we're gonna have we're gonna bypass this, right? Bypass it. So we're gonna add 80 milliliters of water. And we're gonna, because we're thinking espresso, or I'm just making that up. Actually, I'm not. Nobody's really thinking that. I'm gonna add 80 grams. And then we're going to add this to it. Like an Americano, right? Like an Americano. 131 grams. Oh, you know what? We didn't check the amount of yield. Pretty good. Kind of like grapey. But like young Thompson grapes. Like, you know, Thompson seedless, like at least that's really popular here in the United States. We have this, it's a green grape, very popular and different than the purple grape, right? Different than that. It's got a little bit cleaner, a little bit tartier flavor to it when it's sweet. But if you can imagine what a Thompson grape would taste like when it's not as ripe, that's the character that I'm sensing in the coffee at the moment. Now, the coffee, 20 grams. We added 80 grams to it. We added 80 plus 50. No, we did 80 plus. Oh, no, I just added 80. There was no reason to add 80. There was no specification. So we're going to add more. I'm going to add more. I'm going to bring it closer to like regular coffee strength, because this amount of coffee, for the only reason is that this amount of coffee is diminutive in size and is not worthy of accompanying my pan dulces, right? So that's really the main reason why. Anton says maybe the chirp moves when the burrs wear, but man, I haven't opened it up 1,000 times till then. It's probably not my grinder anymore by then. I gotcha. Peter says, I just feel the torque in my fingers, but that's because you've got that whole like Aussie thing going on where you're like in the wilderness, in the outback, and like if you don't have great sensitivity, like you will be eaten by like whatever like big spider has morphed into like some koala-sized creature. It's going to sit on your face and kill you. So you guys are a bit different. You guys are special in that respect. So, I get it. Coffee Cove says the brewer has varying holes with the micron size above the different size holes. It gives you a good ballpark of your grind size. Okay, I'm going to have to look this up because I have no idea what this brewer is. Like, it's called the brewer, which makes you think that it's going to brew coffee, not measure grind size. Like, I'm totally confused by this. Totally confused. Anton says, when I learn how to teleport, I will clean. Thank you. I would appreciate you coming over to fix a grind. What's his name? Do you know the text? If you call, yeah, I do have his number. What is his number? And I will announce it to the world because this guy is actually really good. Everybody else is just rubbish. Like, and I mean rubbish is a very kind. I'm being very kind in my live stream because it's just like, it's terrible. Do I have it? Sam Edgin at Ceremony Coffee. If you call Ceremony, you're like, hey, Ceremony. What is it? 301-385-2553, 301-385-2553, which I think is Ceremony's number. So no big deal giving it out. So, but Sam he's excellent. He's excellent. Not cheap. Like probably $250 an hour, but Guy knows what he's doing. And he's probably the only one worthy of trusting. Everybody else is truly rubbish, like rubbish, rubbish, rubbish. And I say that with absolute authority on this because I'm just like, I've used some of them. And I know people that have used other. Paige, good morning to you. Let's get off of that. Anton says, Supreme Brewer. Supreme, is that how Supreme? I don't know. Okay, so let us go here to our coffee. We got our coffee. We've got it diluted. Lighter. It's kind of like very reminiscent of what we have had before. Very nice. Very nice. Now let's go to the pan dulces. These are pan dulces. Actually, I don't have a lot of selection in pan dulce. Right? They're basically two types of conchas here. And conchas are these, conch-shaped baked goods that have this sugar coating. And it was like, is that like a melon pan? Very similar to melon pan. Very, very similar. Yeasted dough on the inside, slightly sweet dough, and then like a sugar cake topping on the top, which I love. Like, you roll out the sugar, you mix it, and then you lay it on top of it and spread it out. It's really lovely. And this is vanilla with a little bit of maybe strawberry powder. And then this one is chocolate. I was first introduced to this type of pastry in 2007 when I went to go see the girl who had become my girlfriend at the time in Mexico City. She lived in Mexico City, and I was totally in love. And I went down to see her, and we went out with her mom for dinner, and we went to a place called Sanborns. Sanborns is kind of like the Denny's of Mexico. And, it's just regular food of a whole different variety of stuff. And for them, they always started their meal with pan dulce. And I think that's relatively common in Mexican cultures, that you start your dinners with pan dulce and coffee. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And I was like, what is going on here? I'm American, right? So we're used to sweets after the meal, not before the meal. And they still have dessert. They still have their postres after that, but they'll have pan dulce, just one. And she took me at the time to a place called, there's a neighborhood in Mexico City called Polanco. Polanco is like the Beverly Hills of Mexico City. All the rich people live in Polanco. So we went to this place called, what was it called? It was called Bondi. This restaurant called Bondi. And Bondi was a restaurant. I don't know what they made there, but really we only went there for their bakery because they make a concha at Bondi. Bondi's been closed for many years now, which I'm very, very sad, because their concha is the concha of my dreams. I was like, oh my God, she was like, this is the best concha. I was like, oh my God, it totally is the best concha. The best, it was pillowy, soft and fluffy and just lightly sweet, and the crispy top was just right. And so what plagues a lot of these pan dulces, these are yeasted doughs, right? Like bread doughs. So one of the problems is hydration, and a lot of Mexican, and conchas are, by the way, conchas are strictly Mexican, right? You have to be careful with Spanish, and if you're not a Spanish speaker, you have no idea what you're doing. You have to be careful, because you could say ridiculous things, right? For example, I was on the phone with a friend of mine who's Latino, right? And we're talking, and I was like, man, I love conchas. I love to eat conchas, man. I want to eat conchas all day and night. And he starts laughing. He's laughing his butt off. I'm like, what? He's like, dude, you know what? He's like, remember, I'm Argentinian. I was like, yeah. He's like, conchas in my country are something else that maybe you want to eat all day and all night, but it's definitely not a sweet bread. It may be sweet, but it's not a sweet bread. And I was like, oh, well, I'm all right with eating that too. So I was like, okay, either way. But one of the problems with a lot of bakeries is that it tends to be very dry. The crumb will be very dry. And you're like, this. And if you have one of those, you're like, okay, it's a good idea, but execution is just it's not pleasant. It's not fun. I mean, maybe culturally for some people, they may have grown up in a place where their bakery was very dry, and they're like, oh, it's good. But I'm not that person. I had this Bondi, which is amazing. And it's very, and I always think about that when I try conchas. That's the gold standard of what I hold it to. Now, the closest one that I found in Mexico City is a place called Maque, Maque, and they're very good. Not quite Bondi level, but very good. In Baltimore, where I live, this is the one that I found that is one of the best. There's two places. There's a little bakery in Essex, Baltimore, that I don't know if they're still open. They were closed the last time I looked on Google Maps. But theirs is very good. And this place, I happened to be driving by. I was yesterday. Oh, that's right. I had a meeting yesterday at noon. And after that, I was in this neighborhood. I was driving by and I was, oh, there it is, Martinez. So Martinez is a bakery here on Reisterstown Road in Baltimore that makes, it's a bakery. And so they make this concha. And I think this is one of the better ones here in Baltimore. This place and the place in Essex are the only places that I've tried so many here that are soft and to me enjoyable, right? So this is the concha, and and you typically eat this with coffee. So let's go and break it open. Oh, now it feels kind of hard. So you can see the crumb here. And the nice thing about going to this Martinez, there's great value. Like, so I bought these 3 conchas, right? And then I bought 2 bolillos. And then these are like the sandwich rolls, right? And they're nice and soft. Like, these are really nice. When I went to go check out, the girl was like, so she's speaking Spanish to me completely, right? Which is good because I'm trying to maintain. But she's like, oh, if you get one more, it's 3 for $1. And I was like, oh, one, I'll go get another one. So I got another one, and I have 3 of these and 3 conchas. So she told me the price. I was like, eh? Okay. $2.97. I was like, what? $2? I should have bought more. And really, I should have bought more because, you can take these conchas. And what I normally would do is I would take them, wrap them in cling film individually, and then freeze them. And then I would have them ready. And I don't know I didn't think about that yesterday. I don't know what's wrong with me, but here it is. The nice. Anton said, yeah, it looks tasty. Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely, man. It's lovely. Asian Dev is with us. Glad to see you're better. Thank you, man. I feel so much better now. Oh, that is nice. Like I said, it's not. Ooh. The sweetness of the concha actually kind of just accented the light fruitiness of the coffee just now. I don't know why I didn't think about the freezing thing until just this moment, but now I'm kind of bummed that I didn't buy more and do that, and I normally do. I don't know what's wrong with me. Now I feel desperate to go back. I eat this, and that's pretty much it. Right? You got nice crumb. Now this is not as soft as the Bondi that I remember. Like, that was super pillowy soft. This is just this is like Serta soft. It's kind of like memory foam soft. Not hard like memory foam, but soft, but So this, if you could find a nice one, it's a nice, if you want to have an afternoon coffee and you're like, oh, you're in the afternoon, you're like, oh, I feel a little bit in the mood for snackiness. This is a great way to go. I think it's a wonderful thing. I mean, you could be like the Mexicans and eat one before dinner. Also a good choice. You can get crazy. I think we can dip it, right? Just dip a little bit. I might have dipped more, but I don't know if the structure will hold because I don't normally dip stuff like that. I just thought about it. Yeah, $2.90, right? That was crazy. I was like, wow, $2.97. She was like, $2.97. I was like, what? She's like, what she said? She said, $2.97. What? Did you say? I was like, $2.97. ¿Cómo? But so great value, but now if I bought, so how I learned about Martinez is that my local Latino market buys from them. And so once or twice a week, they get an order from Martinez and they stock up. And I'll usually buy it there. And then they told me where they got it from. And I was like, oh, he had some Town Road. I was like, oh, nice. So I think like if I bought this concha at my Latino market, it'd be $1.25. Which to me is great value because I don't have to drive anywhere. It's like right there. That reminds me. I need to remember tomorrow. So my Latino market on Saturdays, Sundays, they will have freshly made tamales. I have to go get some. If you're not familiar with what tamales are these in Mexico. At least it's the part of Mexico that these guys are from. They're making. They're basically, if you can imagine, like you take corn masa, next tamal masa, which is basically like this grain corn that they put with lime powder, lime, the mineral, and they boil it and they break down the structure of the corn, and then they can grind it and make it into like a paste, or eventually you can also make it into a flour, dry it up, make it into a flour. But you make it and you make this masa and you put it on it's called the comal. Anyway, you grind it out and then you mix it with like any kind of chicken, pork, whatever you want, put inside. And then you make it into a tube, and you typically will roll it in a corn husk, and then you steam it. Super good. A lot of cultures do this kind of thing, and some will use like plantains, ground plantains, and stuff like that. So it all depends, but it's all generally this intubation of some kind of stuff. I don't know if that describes anything, but if you have a chance, if you have a Latino market by you, ask them if they ever have fresh tamales, and you just go there and they're pretty cheap. I forgot how much they are, but I'll go there and buy like maybe 4, and whatever the price is, no big deal. Tamales de pollo, and then gotta remember that for tomorrow. How chocolate is the chocolate one? Let's give it a try. They're not going to be, so these are all made the same way, right? With the same dough. The difference really is with the concha. And so pretty much most of the pan dulce. So if you go there and you see this style of like baked pan dulce, and there's different shapes, and they're all going to be the same dough. It's just going to be the treatment on top. And when you go if you go to a Latino bakery or a Latino market that has a baking section, the way you buy is very different than like in a Western bakery. So they'll usually have like a tray or a bucket, or not a bucket, but they'll have some kind of container, and they'll have tongs. And you walk to the cases, you open the cases, and you just take what you want and you put it in your box, right? And then you take that to the register, and then they give you the total. But they've got all kinds of like stuff there, like elephant ears. They've got like cookies. They've got galletas, like cakes. This place also has a cold section. So they have like tres leches cake. They've got like eclair looking things. They're very good. Like they've got a lot, and it's worth going to. It's if especially if you find your way out here on Town Road in the Pikesville area, Martinez Bakery. It's all, if you get on Town Road inside the Beltway, you go down. There's this like taco place that's been very popular. I forgot the name, but you go down and it's on the left as you're driving into the city. Pretty good. That's good. No, it's very good. It's actually, I think, to me, this is like the one place that's worthy of visiting for Mexican style pan dulce. Now this one, we're going to open it up here. Oh, they might have a little bit of different dough. The crumb looks different on this one. Look at that. The crumb is slightly different. Actually, yeah, it looks a little bit. Maybe the rise was different with this batch, or maybe it was cooked. Maybe it was baked a little bit longer. Maybe. All right, let's give it a taste here. The chocolate. So the chocolate's going to be only in the topping. Yeah. That was baked a little bit longer. Actually, because it's drier. It's not as good. Actually, maybe it's older. Maybe it's a day older. Maybe these were day old by the time that I bought them yesterday. And these were baked yesterday because these have a different texture. Actually, this is not very good. Much better. So the coating is chocolate. Yeah, the coating has chocolate flavoring to it. And then the bolillo is just a longer roll that is made. You slice it and then you fill it. It's a sandwich bread. Right? This is really the same. So if you ever go and you find a place that's a Mexican joint, they're making something called tortas. This is basically what they'll use for a torta. And tortas can be all different kinds of things. Like there's one of the more ubiquitous ones in Mexico is called the torta milanesa. And that's basically Milan-style pork cutlet, pounded flat, breaded, fried. And then usually you'll have like, I guess they put Mexican crema, which is kind of like what they would use in lieu, like we would use mayonnaise. They would use crema, maybe cheese, lettuce, onion, salsa, and you put that all and you eat. Oh man, it's good. It's so good. And there's so many different ways of doing it. There's a style from Mexico City called pambazo, and pambazo they basically take the bolillo and they dip it in a chili sauce. So it's coated chili and they kind of grill it to kind of burn the chili flavor sauce into it. It's a very light chili, red chili. And then they fill it with maybe like picadillo, which is ground beef, or maybe something like use carnitas, which is the pork. So a variety of things you can use to make it, but they're basically Mexican style sandwiches. Right? Power plant says so much variation in Mexico. Oh, so much. Power plant says that semitas are my personal fave Mexicans. Oh, semitas. I'm not familiar. I'm not too well versed in semitas. I've only had it like once. Many years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I was in Chicago, and one of my friends, she was like, if you want to get a good sandwich, there's a place called Semitas Puebla. And I was like, oh, Semitas Puebla. All right. So I drove over there. It was kind of far from where I was staying. I think I was in I was staying in the Magnificent Mile area. It was all like fancy, nice hotel and all that. So I rented it ahead of my rental and I drove out. It was kind of out in the outer part of the city. Semitas Puebla, man, and it was so good. Like that Semitas, I guess, are like Puebla style tortas. But man, it's so good. I don't know what I have, but I just remember loving it so much. But unfortunately, they closed. They're no longer in business. I don't know what happened. But I hear you on that part. I hear you. The bread typically has lots of sense. Oh, that is nice. Ah, that is nice. All right, so I guess there's Conchas Martinez. Get the Concha. It's very good. And our coffee, the LPLV, low pressure, low volume, with the bypass, pretty good. All right, so back again on Monday after the weekend. Hope you guys are going to have a wonderful weekend out there. Let me know if you do anything interesting. My aunt's birthday is tomorrow, so we're going to have a little party for her. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you very much for tuning in. Good to see all of you. Power Plant says a lot of people think corn tortillas are the most authentic, but oh yes, but that's mostly in the north, right? South or central and south is mostly corn. But I have to say, I remember the first time I went to Mexico, that same trip that I learned about these. One of my chef friends, a good friend of mine, is also very much into Mexican food. And I said to him, at that point, I had never had like true masa, which is the freshly ground corn, mixed to mulled corn. And I'd only had, everything made from maseca, which is the commercially available corn flour that most people use for Mexican cooking here in the United States. And I remember I was like, what's the difference? How much of a difference is it with real masa? He said, oh, it's huge, huge. So I was like, cool. So I was staying at this hotel. I was staying at, they put us up at the Crown Plaza by the World Trade Center in Mexico City. And I wanted to get something to eat. So I go downstairs. I was hungry. It was my first night there. I go downstairs. I said to the bell guy, I said, hey, man, where can I get something to eat? He's like, oh, there's a Popeyes. Look, hey, I love Popeyes. I said, dude, I love Popeyes. I'm all about the Popeyes, but I did not fly to Mexico to eat Popeyes. And he's like, well, there's this other place that's here, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I appreciate the thought. And the way he described it, it was like very like Americanized. I was like, man, I appreciate that thought. But what I want to know, where can I get good food? Like, where will you eat? And he was, oh, me? Over on the corner, right? Corners in Spanish are called esquina. And so you go to the corner. And at different points of the day, different corners of the city, there will be somebody set up there with like food to sell. Like there's this famous place in the neighborhood called La Condesa. There's this woman that comes out with like a big bike and she has this whole setup. And it's called they call it now the Esquina de Chilaquil. Right? So she sells chilaquiles, the tortas de chilaquiles. So chilaquiles in a torta, and you go there for breakfast, man. It's so delicious. Like I want to go there in the mornings. But he was like, just go out here to the left, and catty corner from the hotel, there's this lady selling tacos. So I walk over there, and there she was. Lady sitting on the corner, on the sidewalk, bunch of buckets around her filled with like food, and then a little plancha, and she's getting the fresh tortillas cooking. And I have no idea I have no idea what she has. I have no idea what to order. I'm just kind of like, and I was like, she's like, que gusta? And I was like, oh, I think I pointed or something. I ended up with a chicharrón, which is the fried pork rinds, right? In a salsa verde, in a green sauce taco, which was good. Like the chicharrón and the salsa was good, but what was like, to my mind, was the tortilla itself. The tortilla was made from freshly ground masa, like the true fresh masa, because you could tell, like the moment I bit into it, the corn flavor was so bold, so apparent, so brilliant. I was just like, oh my God, this is what masa tastes like. What we've had with maseca is just a facsimile, right? This is like, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So if you have the chance to ever get fresh corn masa, like if you get down to Albuquerque, New Mexico, there's a little tortilleria there called El Modelo. And El Modelo actually makes fresh corn masa. And when I was there, I was like, my friend Brian told me this because he used to live there. And I was like, when I went there and this was like 2008, so it's been a long time. I was like, I got to go to El Modelo. So before I went to the airport, because it's not too far from the airport, I drove to El Modelo. And I was like, I need a few pounds of like the masa. You put it in a bag, shoved it in my check-in, and flew it home. And I was like, okay, I got masa for a while to make fresh tortillas. Oh, thank you, Power Plant, for the cumpleaños thing. Thank you very much. Lechon kawali for everyone. Oh, yeah, man. Maybe lechon kawali. Maybe that's them. Now that we're talking about Mexican food, maybe lechon kawali tacos, right? Like the chicharrón, where they were stewing it in the green salsa. Maybe what the idea is to take the kawali. And if you're not familiar with kawali, right? Lechon kawali is basically roasted pig stomach, belly. So and chopped up. You can roast it and crisp it, or you can deep fry it and crisp it, whatever way you want. It's fine. Filipinos don't care as long as it's crispy and delicious. That's all we care about, and porky goodness. But take the kawali, and right before you serve the taco, or as you're heating it, the taco on the plancha, the tortilla on the plancha, then you heat up the salsa in a pan, add the kawali, saute a little bit just to coat it, And then you put that, oh my God, that would be. All right, I might have to go to the Filipino restaurant and buy some today. I still have some salsa left over. In Mexico, the corner stall is king. Absolutely, absolutely. Huarache for breakfast. You know what? I've never had huarache. I'm going to have to try that. And mix them up fresh corn cake. Totally agree. There are hundreds of varieties of corn in Mexico to try in various regions. Oh, right. I mean, Mexico is where corn comes from, I think, right? Corn and chocolate. Where would we be in America without Mexico? Hungry. All right. So good to see all of you. Thank you for hanging out with me again. Back again on Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern, with more recipes from this bountiful world of OXO Rapid Brew. Kogi taco truck from LA. You know, I have yet to try that. I need to try that next time. All right. Hope you have a great one and have a wonderful weekend. See you next time.